Alright, so today I'm going to be showing you guys the single best ChatGPT prompt to basically validate any of your business ideas and just to make sure that whatever business model or business idea you're coming up with is actually a good one and whether or not you can actually apply it. So now this prompt is extremely simple, it's extremely beginner friendly, it's as simple as just copying it, pasting it, and hitting enter, and then simply answering a few of ChatGPT's questions and being as descriptive as possible so that it has as much information to work with. Now you can get this prompt in the description of this video, or it may be the pinned comment, depending which one YouTube allows us to do. Now, we can go ahead and paste it in a standard chat like this, or you can use a custom GPT, but what I prefer to use when dealing with these types of prompts is projects mode. Now the reason for that is mainly because of the memory feature right here, where you can have project only memory. And also just to keep it organized, because it's, having it like a separate folder is pretty cool. And the memory mode, like I mentioned, it's pretty good because it keeps all of the memory confined to one spot, and the memories from other chats won't overlap, and the same thing with the memories that we have here won't overlap into other chats, So I'm going to go ahead and paste the prompt, and we're going to take a look at it really quickly. So it basically says, you are my business idea validator, no bias. Your job is to pressure test my idea like a skeptical operator, find weak points, demand proof, and produce a simple validation plan. And obviously there's a lot more to this prompt. I'm not going to go into all of this, but you guys can take a look and, edit it as you like. But it's simple enough that you can simply just go ahead and click enter once you copy paste it. And then ChatGPT is going to start asking us questions that obviously it would be best for us to answer as descriptive as possible. So we're going to just scroll down here. And it's saying, what's the idea in one sentence, what to sell, and to who? So I'm going to go ahead, there's a multitude of questions that it's going to be asking us. I'm going to go ahead and answer them first, and we're going to go over each of them individually really quickly. That way I'm not answering each of them one by one and taking up the entire time of this video. So I'll just answer them really quickly, and we're going to go over it real quick. I'll be right back. So I went ahead and answered all of the questions. I didn't have an actual business idea or, actual plan because I'm not trying to start a business right now. But I went ahead and just answered, the questions very generally with an idea of, for instance, just reselling on eBay. So I said, what's the idea in one sentence? I said to resell used items on eBay. Then it said, who is the customer exactly? See, the questions that they're asking here, it's much more designed for true businesses and actually trying to start a small business as opposed to, just eBay reselling. But I just said variable. Then we see here, what problem does it solve? The, pain plus consequence if ignored. It says, what's your proposal offer? In this case, I just said used items. I really answered very generally because I don't have much of a concept here from myself. But if you answer a lot more descriptively, you'll get much better results with this. So as we see here, what price are you thinking? I just said variable. What's your unfair advantage? I said access to thrifted goods. What alternatives do customers use now? Other people doing the same, I said. And then finally, what's your go-to market channel? I said eBay. And what would make this fail? I just said product variability. Then finally, it asked for timeline and constraints. How much, time in a week, your budget, your deadline. I just said none. And then at that point, it starts to actually go ahead and tell us if this is a good idea or not. And it takes the assumptions based on what we have and what we've told it. I didn't give it much information, so take this with a grain of salt. But this is the idea of how it would work, and by answering all these questions clearer and with a lot more description and a lot more information, it would give you a much better result. But just to give you an idea, clear verdict, pursue with changes. This is not a bad idea, it is just too broad in its current form, obviously because I was general. Then it gives us an explanation as to why and what I could do differently. The biggest risks, as it says, no niche, random inventory, risk you buy whatever, looks cheap, and then get stuck with slow moving junk. So it actually does give a pretty good explanation for something that I responded with a very general way. So that just goes to show you how good this prompt can be if you have a lot more details. So it says you may confuse cheap to buy with easy to sell, margins get eaten by fees, shipping and returns, condition problems and inconsistent listings, execution drag, hard truths, etc. So it just goes into depth onto how you can improve this and why it is or isn't a good idea. The one change that most increases odds, pick one narrow category and run a 30 listing test. So it gives us an example of how we can upgrade our idea and make it better. Then a 7-day validation plan with hypotheses, with 3 that are testable. So we get the hypothesis 1, Focus niche will let me source profitably, and it tells us what will work or not work. And then you get 3 of these, which is fantastic if you're testing out businesses. And then finally, 10 customer questions to ask. Use these with buyers or people active in the chosen niche. And it gives you a whole section of that. And then it gives you 2 offer tests, the smoke test, create a simple page or profile concept. We scroll down further, we get the manual test. And then finally, messaging tests with 5 hooks, headlines, and value props in ways that we can actually help with our marketing, and how we can actually validate our idea and make sure that it's a good one. And then finally, success metrics. So count these as proof. We get 10 items sourced in one niche, 10 listings live, 1 plus sale in 7 days, and just proof that our business is actually up and running and doing well. And it gives us an idea of how we can actually, use a metric to understand whether or not we are succeeding. And then finally, an asset pack of what we can and can't do. For instance, a landing page with a headline. We can go down further. CTA if we were going into marketing and how we would market our products. And then 3 short DM and email outreach scripts. It gives everything that you would possibly need in order to try to be successful with a small business and to validate whether or not it would work. And like I said, the more descriptive you are in the questions and the more information you provide to ChatGPT, the better it will be, and the more information it will actually give you back on the topic. So 5 content angles for organic traffic if we were trying to market ourselves online as well. And then finally, the first move is simple. Choose one niche and run a 10-item eBay test this week. And then you can go back and forth with it and ask it more questions if you weren't happy with what we got here so far. So that's about it. So once again, if you want to use this prompt, my biggest recommendation is just try to answer the questions as descriptive as possible. That way you'll get much better responses that are much more aligned with whatever it is you're doing, as opposed to me that was doing it more general. But this just gives you an idea of the stuff that it'll provide to you by just simply copying the prompt, pasting it, hitting enter, and then answering all the questions as properly as possible. And once again, the prompt will be in the description of this video or as the pinned comment. And once again, just copy, paste, hit enter, and you're good to go after answering all of the questions. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.